Sorry, hold on.
Grid One Motorsports donated $200. Men do not have body autonomy, but women do. Men have been conscripted into military service and lost limbs and their
It's a very good point.
Men also can go to prison for no payment of shield support.
Yep.
Stop the cap.
Yeah, that last
War
point
is a big one.
The war is a very good one. All men in this country don't have bodily autonomy because every single man in this country has to register for the selective service.
Correct.
When it comes to the last one, we have totally done away with debtors' prisons, with the sole exception of child support payments. You can go to prison for that if you don't pay. But we've acknowledged and recognized that debtors' prisons are unjust and immoral and unethical. Yet in this sole thing, and 90+% of child support payments are from men to women, so that's obviously a gendered issue. But sorry, you were going to go ahead. Thank you, Grid One, by the way.
Yeah, Grid One.
That is a good point.
I don't believe in war or prison either.
You don't need to. You don't
believe in prison?
What do you mean you don't believe in prison?
I mean, prison is in the U.S., but yeah, I think that everyone should be rehabilitated and not necessarily released into the public, but everyone should be rehabilitated.
Well, if you don't release them into the public, where would they be?
In a rehabilitation center.
So prison?
Would there be bars in that rehabilitation center, which they spent most of their time behind?
I haven't worked out all the details about bars, but I mean,
metal
the
bars,
concept of prison is just weird.
Serving bars.
Well, no, I think it's weird for you to say that you want them to go to rehabilitation centers where they're segregated from the general population. I would like to know how you plan on doing that without, imprisoning them against their will.
Let me rephrase my original statement. I don't believe in prison how we have prison.
Yeah, I understand that. You actually already said that. That's why I'm diving into how you believe we should have prison.
Look at I forget which country it is actually, so don't look. But there's a lot of prisons that do that have nice conditions. People get abused in prison, and no one, even abusers, should be abused.
I have something about this.
Yeah, but I mean, you're probably referencing some of the Nordic nations, which put a lot of emphasis on rehabilitation for these kind of smaller demographics, which they can do, and they've had some limited success with that. But when you're talking, especially here in the United States, I'd like to know how you would move towards a more rehabilitation-centered prison environment when you know that you have to segregate off violent criminals from the general population. How do you plan on doing that without imprisoning them? That makes no sense to me.
Well, things like no private prison, starting with that, no prison for profit, that's insane that exists. That's slave labor. Stop slave labor, we'll start with that. And then
yeah, but you know what federal prison is, right?
What do you mean?
Federal prison.
Federal prison, which is under the purview of the state, federal.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
Do you think that the conditions in federal prisons are better than the private prisons? Because in many cases they're not. So just moving from private ownership to public ownership, that's still going to have the same types of conditions that you're talking about.
Jeff, did you?
I was just gonna say, I think this is another one of those things where it's the words don't mean the words. So it's I don't believe in prison, but I do think they should be confined somewhere where. So it's you're just using. It's kind of the same word, and then another thing is it's so complicated the punishment system. If someone were to assault and maybe hurt or do anything to a woman in my life or my sisters or my niece or something, now I've got to ask myself, do I want that person rehabilitated or do I want them punished? Yeah. And these might be called punishment facilities. Some people are beyond. There's kind of there's addiction. There's a lot of things that go into when people hurt things and do things.
Mental illnesses,
right? And they're not. This is very tough. I've been to jail and I've also worked in jails, and these aren't sweet.
They're not.
This is not. We're not talking about oh, come on, give everyone a chance, and they just screwed up, and they're being treated this because of their race. There's bad people among us who have done some bad things. Is all I'm saying. So it's not just you can't just blanketly go, oh, they're being treated bad. It's yeah, they did. A lot of them did bad things. And they're in a bad place. They're there to be punished.
7 Deadly Simps donated $200.
Thank you, man.
Ladies, Brian has a thing for
God, bro.
Short women, B, Asian women, C, Large labia, raise your hand if you're any of the above. Also, 777 decillion 777
thank you, 7
nonillion 777.
Anybody gonna raise
I
their
guess
hand?
I'm out, Brian. Yeah, you didn't say 80-year-old white guys.
777
Never say never.
777
thank you, 777.
That's pretty funny.
Appreciate it, man.
That's a troll for sure, I think.
777
We're not done yet.
Oh my God, it's not. Hold on, there's another one that's about to come in. We have official. I'll just read it. Official Brandon Collins. Thank you for the 100. Brian should moderate a presidential debate. Andrew is an awesome debater. Jeff is hilarious. AF. Love you all. Hope you have a blessed episode. And to quote OF girls, link in bio. hashtag Christ is King.
Nice.
Oh, did you see that episode? Did you see that last episode? Oh, we have Grid 1.
Motorsports donated $200.
Oh, hey, thank you for tuning in, man. Appreciate it.
I have to go, but leave you with this. The girl with the weird prison opinions needs to learn more before speaking, as I am sure she is not as dumb as she seems, just supremely ill-informed. Be better.
Grid 1.
Do you want to respond to Grid 1?
I mean, I kind of agree a little bit. I didn't know the exact topics of conversation, so I can't whip out a bunch of rapid fire statistics on you right now, and I think I would sound a lot more eloquent if I did.
Thank you, Grid 1.
We haven't really whipped out any statistics on you either. Right now, we're just still in the forming of the opinion and trying to figure out if it even makes coherent sense. So we're not hitting you with stats, you're not hitting us with stats. Right now, we're just trying to figure out basic questions like, if you want to segregate X amount of the public away from the rest of the public, how do you do that without imprisoning them? That seems like a question which doesn't need statistics to answer.
Yeah, I mean, I started answering it, and then you got hung up on the first thing I said, and then I couldn't go through the whole list. But I can keep going through the list.
Wait, so the whole list when it comes to what?
What would I do if I had like supreme overlord power?
Oh, was that the question?
I mean, it seems like
into the mic. Sorry,
it seems like it is.
Was that
What's the question?
I think no.
We were talking about prison. Yeah.
Well, I thought
before that.
The thing we were talking about before was I was asking you. So we were talking about feminism, and you said that women, or I said something about, well, we're equal under the law in terms of our rights, men and women's rights, and then you said you object to that, and I don't exactly remember how we meandered to prison, but
we were talking about abortion, and then people can go to jail for not even paying child support. We talked about war. So the comment was about all that, and then then it kind of came into her saying, well, I don't agree with war, or I don't agree with jail. And we go, well, what would you do with jail if you didn't agree with jail?
Let's not linger too long on the whole prison,
Yeah,
thing,
no, that was a long,
But so it sounds like you object
I don't believe in debtor's prison. That's what's important for the conversation.
But it sounds like you don't like prison in general.
I don't like how it is now. I mean,
I can certainly agree with you that there are certainly, for example, the rate at which inmates might be assaulted by other inmates or by even guards. There's certainly ways that we can better reform in the prison system. I don't think that there should be people being physically assaulted and murdered in prison. So certainly there's reforms. And I agree with you that to some degree, we should be rehabilitating, but it sounds like you object entirely to the concept of what's the term? Retributive justice system.
I think only certain people should be like rehabilitated.
Yeah, I agree. Some people should be punished.
There's certain people that absolutely deserve prison, and there's absolutely people that are literally horrible human beings, and there are some people that actually just need help. And there's a lot of people who can change their life around, but I don't think there are certain things where the prison system is a little. Can I cuss?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't there are certain people that deserve to be in prison, and there's certain fucked up people, but I think some people deserve rehabilitation. Sorry.
Oh no, it wasn't that. It wasn't that.
But yeah, I don't know. I think prison as a whole is it could be fucked up, but I think some people kind of do deserve that.
People's first offenses, that it mostly is rehabilitation, which is the focus.
Right.
So it's usually very light sentences, going through Drug and Alcohol Anonymous, things like this, generally for people's first crimes. It's usually people who are habitual criminals.
Or there's a third strike law in California, so yeah.
That would be a habitual criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And oh, sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
Well, I was just saying, so I mean, if you're a habitual criminal, obviously those are the people you want to segregate off from the rest of society, right?
Right. I mean, and also when it comes to prison, there's a whole bunch of reasons. A lot of people push like, oh, it should be purely, we should purely try to rehabilitate. But there's a whole bunch of, first off, if there's somebody who's dangerous, get them off the street. They're in prison. They don't have the capacity to continue causing harm. That's one of the things. It's also deterrent. Okay, if I just can get a slap on the wrist or get some fine,
they're going to keep doing it.
Perhaps crime is more likely to occur. Also justice, if there's a victim, this whole idea that prison shouldn't be a punishment, I do think that one of the valid arguments for prison being a punishment, again, I don't think that once you're in prison, that's your punishment, your loss of freedom. I don't think you should be like subject to like insane abuse in the prison. You shouldn't, like, they should try to protect you, that you are basically their, they have a duty to essentially keep you safe within the prison system. But one of the big things is, for example, let's say that you kill somebody's son, or one of the big reasons for imprisoning people in justice is so that this is like kind of getting whatever. We have delegated revenge to the state, because in a coherent society, you can't just like, if somebody fucks with you, like, we can't have this sort of vigilante justice system where maybe you've got somebody innocent and now you've got like some fucking family vendetta. So one of the big reasons for prison and for punishment is so that we don't descend into vigilante justice. Because if somebody murdered your whatever and there was no justice system, you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to murder their entire family.
Right.
And then they're going to murder and then it's just, then you get into this escalating domino effect. So
that happened for thousands of years.
Yeah, and so the
People
justice
would kill someone's wife, and they say, "I'm going to kill your son," and then and it just never ends.
So
like gangs are dumb.
So
I
part
was
of
just going to say that's how
part of the social
gangs happen.
Part of the social contract is we've delegated justice and force and revenge essentially to the state, so that you don't see vigilante justice.
And I don't want them treated good.
I just kind of feel like you're arguing to something that I already said. Like, I already said that I rephrased it, you know? Like, I just don't believe that it should be the way it is now, in the ways where I don't think that the laws are being upheld properly.
Well, I think you're walking back your position, because your initial statement sounded a lot to me like you wanted to do away with prison.
Yeah, it was like, I don't believe in prison. There's no nuance in 5 words that I could convey to you, you know? And then we looked into it and like...
You said the way we do it now.
Well, you should be a bit more precise in your words, because if you say you don't believe in prison, if you don't believe in people being incarcerated, I mean, that kind of begs us to want to challenge that statement a bit.
Yeah.
I think it would serve you better to be more precise in your statements, because if you just say some just like kind of almost outlandish statement.
It triggered me. I was like, wait, what? You don't believe in jail? But we asked follow-up questions.
So do you not believe in prison?
I don't believe it should be the way it is now, is how I rephrased it.
I think
okay, all right, we're going to move on.